The year was 1940 and Harry was under extreme pressure. As a gay man who held a professorship at a prestigious New England college, he had been told to keep his love a secret. With his lover leaving him to keep up the appearance, he had no choice but to take his life. Sadly, Harry went up the stairs to his room and took out a gun. There he ended his life at the young age of 32. No more professor, no more Harry and a destroyed family. So the house lived on. As was the tradition at the time, Harry's bedroom door was locked and mostly forgotten as the years went by. Life at the large Victorian went on and the same family continued to live there. With the death of the last remaining family member who had known Harry personally, the grandson took over the home. The home was beautiful and very near the college that Harry had loved, but it needed work and so it was time to open Harry's bedroom door. The key had been lost years before and so the owners decided to take the door off the hinge. Everything was stubborn and rusted as the door had not been touched for 75 years. As Mary watched her husband unscrew the screws, she waited with great anticipation. But, what happened next shocked her. When the door released itself, there was a sudden gush as though someone had brushed up against her. The cold air chilled her through the bone. Both Mary and Joe gasped as they felt the strange sensation. That evening while making dinner, Mary heard a noise. As she looked up, a potted plant lifted almost 3 feet into the air and dropped as suddenly as it had been lifted. Caught totally by surprise, Mary yelled out to her husband. Joe had lived there his entire life and had never experienced anything paranormal. However, the door had not ever been opened. Each day as they worked to make their home into a bed and breakfast, they would feel the presence of who they considered to be Harry. After all, they had not experienced anything paranormal up until the time they had opened the door. As they walked around the room which had once belonged to Harry, they savored every moment. How often could one go into an untouched room of approximately 75 years untouched by anyone? Carefully each and every item was examined, and they both decided at that point that they would save everything that they could and keep the room as it had been for as long as possible. After much discussion, they decided to make the room available as one of the rooms at the bed and breakfast. No word would be mentioned of the tragedy that had occurred there. Perhaps it was just their imagination. Each day some strange things occurred, but the work continued. They decided to have the house blessed by a priest. With smiles and anticipation, 1.5 years later the bed and breakfast opened. 2 weeks later their first guest stayed in Harry's room. Mary made sure everything was clean. It was a large room and had a great view. Mary and Joe waited with anticipation to see if the guests said anything about the room. Unfortunately, it was not long before they heard. That evening just past 10 p.m. the gentleman knocked on their bedroom door asking for a new room. He didn't want to say why and he looked very upset when they said that they didn't have any more rooms. The next morning the husband and wife who had stayed in Harry's room left a day early and Mary heard that they had gone to another hotel. By sheer luck the phone rang and a lady named Linda was calling with questions about doing a ghost hunt. Mary and Joe gladly accepted her invitation and it was decided that Linda and her team would come to their home the next evening. With 2 women and lots of equipment, Linda and her team arrived that evening and set up cameras throughout the house. Mary and Joe told them about the room that had been closed for about 75 years and extra caution was taken to make sure that all angles of the bedroom were covered by camera. After a conversation with the help of a Frank's box, Linda and her team left for the evening. They had not had any luck with the K2 or flashlight but were not discouraged. They left motion cameras in the bedrooms that were empty and would return in a couple of days. The 2-day wait seemed like forever, but it was the middle of a school week and they had no guests. Linda came the day she was supposed to and brought with her a laptop. With great anticipation everyone waited to see what the SD card would show in Harry's room. The disappointment was so discouraging. There was nothing seen there at all. As they went through the SD cards one by one again and again, nothing until the downstairs bedroom. There to their excitement was a lady walking down the hall, a hall that was not occupied. The woman was dressed in 1950s attire and carrying linen. Joe recognized the lady as his grandmother who had died about 10 years ago. There was no explanation. There she was. Please go to Ghost Lady Haunts New England Bed and Breakfast and see her for yourself.